Pisces, welcome to your mid-March 2022 general tarot reading. It's Raina here. I actually started your reading last night and I decided to just pick a fresh spread just because everything got interrupted. I just didn't feel that was... I think people like to see the cards being put out as well. Let me see if I can put these up so you can see better the names of the cards. Okay. The heart of the matter is the King of Cups, and certainly Pisces. And there's that fish, see in the upper right, the pink fish. It's interesting because I see the sun there as well, and when I think of the King, I think of the full manifestation of something, the nth degree. It's the last card of a particular suit. And so the attainment, that was the word I was looking for, the attainment of something. And this is with, it looks like he has almost like a magic wand there. You see that yellow thing. And really, even the magic wand to me shows like at the head, almost like a sun, like the attainment of one's goals. And the reason that this is so important is because for Pisces, you're not necessarily in your life somebody who is trying to make a name for yourself, like from an egoic point of view. A lot of you are wanting to serve humanity, and yet sometimes you have your own vision, your own dream, and you have to believe in that dream. You have to nurture that dream. And so how I see this is whatever it is that you feel is your life's purpose, your soul's mission, that you, and maybe you see how far it deviates from what it is that you do to make money. Because if you're doing something that is completely opposed to what your dream is, then it might actually be against your values or something like that. But if it doesn't, it's not really that big of a deal. You can still, and if you enjoy what you do for a living, then that's not a conflict at all. But simply, but that doesn't mean that you should give up on like your creative dreams or your spiritual goals. So it's really about looking at how all of that fits in together, because I don't believe that we have to be making money doing what we feel is our calling. We can do that regardless. And some people just have that sense of like, okay, I'm either doing this or I'm not doing that. I'm either making a living as an artist or I will never, paint another picture again. When you articulate that, you can see how foolish that sounds. But sometimes it's hard to see it that way. And sometimes this card can be about getting help so that you can manifest your gifts at the highest level. The King of Cups can be a counselor. Now, of course, it could be a traditional therapist if you are going through a lot of emotional turmoil that you can't seem to put behind you. But it can also be like an energy healer, a spiritual advisor, a spiritual teacher. You go to a yoga center or some kind of like spiritual center and you meet somebody and talk to them and they have a lot of guidance for you. It can be somebody along those lines too. And in personal relationships, a water sign, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. In the past position, we have the Star card. Look at that water. Both of these cards. And the Star card is connected to Aquarius. It's really a card of healing, this Star card. And it can speak to receiving messages from crossed over loved ones. And that might be, and you know, come to think of it, the King of Cups could be a father who has crossed over, or maybe a grandfather, somebody who has that fatherly vibe but is very nurturing, that kind of thing. So I could see that being something that is in your life right now for some reason and bringing you inspiration and healing. The higher message is the Four of Swords, and this is an interesting depiction. I think the color pink has a connection with healing, and because I usually think of green as a backdrop, and I have on pink corduroy pants. I realize that lately I've been wearing different shades of pink, dark pink, magenta, mauve, those kinds of things, but even lighter pink. And this is a card of healing, and the swords relate to the thoughts. So it's really a card of letting go of thoughts. I would say even like meditation, but letting go of things that create a certain stress level. And I would add getting your thoughts in order, with the number 4 being connected to Saturn. Getting your thoughts in order, which can be that kind of reflection. I think of the Four of Swords as a minor arcana version of the Hermit card, whether that's true or not. Kind of contemplative, but even physical restoration. And so the top row is all about healing, Pisces. I don't know if some of you are in need of that, both physically and mentally, spiritually, but that's what's coming up. In terms of what is kind of creating an issue around this, we have the Five of Swords. Now, I'm still getting used to this deck. This deck is called the Cosmic Slumber Tarot. I think it's really delightful because of all these colors and the way that the illustrations are depicted. There's like a childlike vibe to it. And one of the interesting things, so I'm getting used to some of this imagery, and I didn't realize that the Five of Swords had Saturn here. And Saturn has that connotation with limitations and other kind of, sometimes more on the negative side, but by no means should we look at Saturn as totally negative. I'm just saying that because the Five of Swords does have a rather negative connotation, that it's interesting that they have Saturn here. It makes a lot of sense. The Five of Swords can be some kind of, what do they call it? I was going to say blasphemy, and that's like not what I mean. But you having your name dragged through the mud, I guess I'd say slander, people talking behind your back, so gossip and things like that. And the fear of it, maybe just feeling like there's something going on behind the scenes. So with that top row, I would say that if this is something where you feel this something in your life has changed, whether it's you're looking for a new job or you're out of a relationship, that you may feel that there are people who are hidden enemies or something like that, trying to talk badly about you. Maybe it's one person with the Five of Swords, because this deck doesn't really show like multiple people, except for, I mean, they show 2 people, but um, the standard way of the illustration is showing a bunch of people in the background and one person in the foreground. So I usually think of like coworkers with some kind of smear campaign, I guess is what we could call it. And it's interesting because Pisces rules the 12th house, and one of the elements of that is hidden enemies. And this isn't to make you paranoid or anything like that, but just to remind you that sometimes when you're improving your life or good things are happening for you, it can bring out the haters. And one thing I notice online is that people say, I'm not going to, F the haters and blah, blah, blah. And I see this a lot with people who I think, are more sensitive or spiritual. And even bringing that to people's attention, like even giving them any energy, to me is part of the problem, because these people are very, I would say, low vibration, and they feed off of people's negative energy. If you make some kind of post denouncing haters, then they'll know that they got to you, even if you're making these affirmative statements. So you don't even give them that energy, as far as I'm concerned. And if somebody, I do say this though too, if you have broken away from a narcissist, and this could be why you have King of Cups, that you have taken charge of your own life. But if you've broken away from a narcissist, that's very important that you are able to kind of deal with people's misperceptions of you, because sometimes a narcissist will try to turn other people against you. So this can be within your family, within your circle of friends, and you have every right to set the record straight about what actually happened in that relationship. And you don't have to just keep silent because you feel like it's going to be a problem. If somebody else is lying on you, then you definitely have the right to set the record straight. But the thing that you don't want to do, and I would joke and say, well, if you have like a moon in Scorpio, for instance, or Scorpio rising, you might have a tendency as a Pisces to be like, okay, well, they're saying they're talking smack about me, I'm going to talk smack about them. No, because you don't want to get drawn into that. You want to stay above the fray, but you can just very calmly say, no, that isn't true. Here is the truth, and leave it at that. You don't have to say this person's a psychopathic liar, anything like that. You just don't even give that person more energy or put it out there with others, but just say, no, that's not true. This is the truth. And keep it about correcting the narrative and things like that. What's coming in is the Queen of Cups. It's funny because I was going to mention the Queen and the King of Cups. The Queen of Cups is double water, so it's very psychic. It's very much about healing yourself and others, and also this is very creative. So you have both of these cards, and the King, I would say, is more about self-mastery of your emotions, so getting them to the top level where you feel empowered. And with me, the Queen of Cups is about the ultimate receptive energy, where you're able to work with energy without getting sidetracked or it being too much for you. This is always going to be something that a Pisces person has to take into account. If you're wanting to work with in a field that is very creative, or I especially know, like I'm talking about the healing arts, you have to have the ability to not get caught up in the negativity of situations, because that can happen, unfortunately, just by virtue of being so receptive, being a water sign. And so you have to find ways to protect yourself. I don't even have any inner planets in water, and I don't do live readings for that reason. I didn't know it at first, but then I kind of realized that was a built-in mechanism for me not to get too involved with other people, because it's something that comes with the territory. And doing your thing, not allowing other people to derail you, in other words, even if they are, talking smack. And then the outcome is the 7 of Torches, which is wands. And this is really associated with being your own advocate. I really see this as, standing your ground. And this is kind of getting more into what that 5 of Swords is. If you are dealing with, I don't like to use these dramatic words, but if you're dealing like an attack on your character, or somehow, someone trying to make you seem like you're in the wrong about something, you have every right to stand in your own power and speak your truth and, be true to yourself. You may choose to do this in more solitude, because number 7 is associated with meditation and solitude and creativity. So that might be something that you do. There's one deck that I have that shows the 7 of Wands as a single flame. And I see that as the, I don't know, I'm having this like kind of these brain farts, like constant brain farts. The flame of the eternal flame. I see it as the eternal flame. And how I see it is that when we come into this reality, that we have our soul's mission, and a lot of times this will be the thing that really we have a great passion for all our lives. It may take different forms, but it's always there. Like, for instance, for me, it's creativity. But if I had just settled on one modality or path of creativity, then that would have been very narrow-minded. It has shifted, and it has like opened up, and that is great, because even creating this video is something that helps my creativity. So that's what I'm saying to you. It doesn't have to be a very narrow focus. And when you nurture that flame, and you don't allow it, and it's all about you being you. As far as I'm concerned, you do that by just doing you, by just, being true to yourself, to thine own self be true. Because Wands, Torches, I just like to call it the standard, word. Then I ended up saying Torches, because Wands are fire energy, and fire energy is you as an individual. Pisces represents, because of Neptune, that collective soul. And while that is also true, we have to be able to live within this paradox and not go to one extreme or the other. And you can't, sacrificing yourself for others doesn't really work, because you always come back to the self. And I'm talking about if you really literally are, if you really feel like you're giving something up for somebody else, like your kids, and you feel like very virtuous, like virtue signaling, I'm doing this for my children, but it really is taking away from you, one day your children will grow up and they're not going to be around you, and you're going to feel the sense of emptiness, that you did something that was way too sacrificial. Children, I understand that need to put your children first in general. I'm all for that. But when it gets excessive, then that's the problem. I remember a coworker of mine saying, well, you know, that's what people do. They sacrifice for their children. And I said to her, well, then when does it stop and then somebody can have their own life? You know, when, you know, which generation gets to have their own life? Because if they're being sacrificed for and then they're sacrificing for their children, when does it end? Because I don't call things sacrifice if you're doing it with love and a willingness of spirit. So, yeah, so whatever you can do that is yours and yours alone, that also is going to help the collective. It is going to help the collective because you're going to be happy and you're not going to feel like a martyr. Okay, well, this is Pisces. This is kind of like a much more introspective reading than I normally do, but I don't know. That's just what it felt like to me. I hope that this resonated with you. If you would like a personal reading, I do a lot of astrological analysis and also the tarot, but you can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.